What's good, everyone? This is Dev the Coolest.
And this is JB.
And welcome to Slick Talk with a hashtag.
Hashtag Slick Talk. Season 5.
5, episode 2. Maybe, not even, probably.
Yes, facts.
Anyway.
Welcome back, y'all.
Yes, thank y'all for tuning in and
another episode of Hashtag Slick Talk.
Rocking out with us. Another Zoom episode. I feel like I have to say that so people can know, like, because people expect and we expect the quality from ourselves too.
I actually appreciate you saying that because I'm like, listen, if y'all hear any glitches or hear any outside noise
or hear the neighbors,
just bear with us. But y'all can talk to Deb. I was pushing to get us back in the studio, child, because I wanted it crisp and clear. You hear me?
Absolutely. Go back to season 3 if you want to clear, or even the top of season 4.
Exactly. We'll be back soon.
If y'all want to know why we're saying what we're saying. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. Today we're talking about some not very personal. Like I said, it's personal. I mean, what do you think? Is it personal?
I guess we could say it's personal.
Because I guess we're gonna share
our personal experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna talk about sexual assault in the gay community.
Also, the
normalization of it, more so than just sexual assault itself. It's like how it's just a thing that unfortunately most of us are forced to accept as what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what we're talking about today, and we hope that y'all really learn something from it. And our listeners can, maybe follow and. We want to hear your experiences true. If you want to share it, tap in and talk about it a little bit. But anyway,
so where
are we starting?
Yeah, so when we say sexual assault in the gay community, what does that look like to you?
Okay.
Like, not necessarily. I don't want to hear. I don't want to say it like that.
Dang, you don't want to hear.
I don't want to hear necessarily examples.
I will eventually.
Eventually we'll all both give examples. But for right now, starting it off like a general kind of like synopsis of like sexual assault in the gay community.
Yeah. So when coming into this episode, I think we're talking more so like how if you're going out to like a gay club, right, or if you're going to a house party with a bunch of fellow queer gay men, that I guess the expectation is that. If you're touched inappropriately, or if you are looked at inappropriately, or even if you're being talked about in a certain space, like, oh my God, I can see your print, or you got a fat ass. You know what I'm saying? Like in space, like in the space of fellow queer gay men, that can be seen as sexual assault, but it is such a common thing, quote unquote, in the community that it's expected to be accepted.
That's deep.
So
I want to break down the words like of sexual assault, because sexual assault, I feel like when people hear that, they think like literally extreme. Rape, extreme, everything like that.
That happens too.
That happens too, and
I don't think we're talking about that necessarily.
Yeah, so let's break down like what we mean by sexual assault in the gay community. Because it's technically, like you said, it is an assault, but but when people hear that, they're probably going to go first to the extreme level.
Yeah, and we're not going that far today. We're mostly talking about the normalization of the small things that everyone isn't comfortable with, or everyone isn't okay with. But a lot of people are, but everyone isn't. So
starting off with like sexual. So sexual. When you think in this kind of contents of the conversation, when you think sexual in the gay community, what does that mean to you? And I can go first to give you an example.
Go first.
Because I know it's kind of like generally like, wait a minute, what does that mean? Okay. So,
I can get into it, but I want you to go first because I've been talking. So.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm going to get mine in. You all know I get mine in. Y'all know. When I think of like sexual and in the context that we're speaking on, I think of just kind of like hyper kind of like sexual activity. So when I think of sexual, breaking it up in two pieces, sexual assault, I'm thinking of like hypersexual activity and like promiscuity.
Just being promiscuous. Let's say it that way.
Promiscuity. I know that word. So I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking kind of like just like a careless type of like energy when it comes to like that involves like sexual behavior. Those are the things that pop out when I think of sexual in the gay community that's connected. So the word sexual in the gay community that's connected to the word assault, that goes hand in hand with sexual assault.
And what we're talking about today.
Today. So those are the things that stand out to me: is the promiscuity. You know,
what is the word? Promiscuous.
I'm
just saying it's being promiscuous.
Yeah, being promiscuous.
But I feel like being promiscuous is the more so being inviting to let that.
But I mean, I'm a part of the community. I've seen some invites. You know, I've seen some invites, but what we're talking about is not that.
Right.
We're definitely talking about people taking advantage of that,
or feeling like they can just go ahead because they're in that space.
Exactly. So breaking down the word assault for me is literally doing something against someone else's will that violates their space, you know, and that could potentially do damage to their mental health or their health and their overall health, their physical health. So that's for me personally, those are the things that I attach to the words and those words, sexual and assault, in the context that we're talking about.
Yeah, and now so I think within the gay community in general, if you're looking at it from the outside in, the community is seen as a sexual liberation. Like there's a layer of sexual liberation within the community, and from the outside looking in, right? And everybody's kind of just like open willy-nilly and saying, you know, we're accepting of everything that's sexual. And while it is generally, you know, we have an open mind to it, that's not necessarily the case, but I do think that people within the community feed into that image.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so if, you know, you're feeding into that image, then you're going to, when you're in these spaces, like you may be doing things that you don't recognize as being a sexual assault, but it is.
Yeah.
Because it's unwarranted and it's unwanted.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the other side, you kind of feel like you're being forced into it because that is the environment that we're in. So,
which is crazy because I feel like in the gay community, we're always trying to kind of like line up how we kind of do our relationships and dating with like the hetero community and cis and just this community, like even as far as kind of like, you know, roles in our relationship, like the top, the bottom, So the fact that, you know, we try to connect what we do in our community to the hetero community so much that it's interesting that we're in a space right now that, and you know, also let me say this too, to pause myself as a sidebar. I personally, and Dev too, I'm speaking for you in this space, because I already know, we're really speaking from like the gay men experience, the gay men experience.
Yeah.
We can't.
We're gonna get into our we're just kind of setting up.
Yeah, we're setting up for that. We're gonna get into examples, but we're personally, what I do want to preface it with is saying that we're speaking from the gay man perspective, gay men's perspective, because we can't speak on like lesbian perspective, although they're in our community and we respect them, but we can't say that we don't have that experience. So
but we can say what we've seen,
what we've seen,
what we've also personally experienced.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to touch on.
Yeah, but going back to what I was saying before I said that is that it's just interesting how like our kind of interactions when it comes to like sexual assault and what we do that involves, you know, sexual activity is so heightened compared to the hetero community.
In the open.
Yeah.
That's another thing. We're not saying like sexual assault is not happening outside of the gay community.
It's definitely
but in the gay community it's way more accepted and open and upfront.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
and would you even go as far to say that it's like more? Like, is it more of?
I wouldn't be able to speak on if it's more, but it's.
What is your belief? Do you have a belief?
I feel like it's way more.
Okay.
I feel like
I
it
feel
is.
like
I
it
don't know
is,
if that.
too.
I mean, and
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just saying belief. I don't want a fact. We
Well,
don't know the fact. I just want to know what
right,
you believe.
because
in general.
women get catcalled.
Yeah,
and even if
absolutely.
they're gay or straight, they're getting catcalled and they're getting like, you know, harassed by men in gas stations and stuff. So we're not taking away from that. It's definitely just like when like going out. You know, I've been.
We can
believe it or not. Now let's get into examples. I've been catcalled by, I guess, seemingly straight men driving by me because I got a big ass. Like, just to be, no, just being upfront and straight with it. And I'm not. It's not a gloating or thing, but like most, I guess, hetero men, that's what they're drawn to. Like they like. I'm not trans, but they're into stuff that they just don't speak on, and it's like. I can only imagine as a woman, you know, that is the thing. But anyway, so growing up, like, you know, we went to like Crib and
Crib is a gay club that was in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's closed down every Thursday.
I was there, child, too.
Which is crazy because I do not remember seeing you at all, which is so crazy. Because
to be honest, listen, I walked to that club like I was the shit. You know what? I was the shit. I walked to that club not talking to nobody. Listen, let's rewind.
I used to sit over in the corner by the little pole.
I remember. No, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I was older than you too. So when I was going, you weren't even allowed.
I was 18.
When I was going?
Yeah.
When I was going at 18. So how old were you when I was 18?
Well, I wasn't going at 16.
Exactly. So I was going between 18 and 18.
Did you stop at 20?
I did stop at 20. Because I started going to 21 and up clubs.
Well,
yeah, I stopped at 20.
Well,
that's why I didn't see your ass.
There's that. But I was introduced to it like in those spaces where it's just like men would like I would be like groped on the and like my front would be grabbed, my back would be grabbed, like every like felt up on, like random dudes would like just walk up, literally look me in my eyes and like fill up on me, and I was just like, I'm not attracted. I don't like you. Like, what is this?
So
right?
What was your reaction?
And then I didn't like it. I wasn't okay with it at the time.
So what would you do? What was your physical reaction?
I let it happen because the friends that I was with, that's what I was getting into. The people that I were with would tell me like, this is what happens in gay clubs. You know what I mean? Like, this is just what it is. So you have to take it. Like, that's just what's going to happen, right? And it's like, okay, well, that's what's going to happen. Like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, I remember being pulled and grabbed like by older men, and you know, there was a lot of stuff. And it's you know, I think the conversation is always going to be that's just what it's supposed to be. But I don't think that's necessarily what it needs. It shouldn't be. So
it shouldn't be that at all. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that happening.
Bouncers.
You know what got me though, and it made me so uncomfortable. Around the time when I was going to Crib and everything, and even when I started going to like 21 and up clubs, is when I would go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
When I would go to the restroom, and the thing about the clubs in the gay community is that they have a lot of stalls. Like, let me paint a picture for you.
Paint it.
So they have a paint it.
Don't paint, but paint it.
They have a long stall that goes across. Like, just imagine like a skinny tub. You know, just imagine a long skinny tub. I told you I'm painting the picture, child. Just imagine a long skinny white tub that's against the wall, and it's just people lined up and pull their dick out and piss in that, standing right next to each other. It would never happen right now in the midst of quarantine. I mean, in Corona and COVID, but back in the day,
or even just stand-up stalls with no walls in between.
Exactly. So I would always get just uncomfortable when I would try to like maneuver my body a certain way so that when people walk up, they wouldn't see my dick. It's not that, and let's be clear, it's not that I was embarrassed of it, because you know, listen, I'm packing. Listen, so it's not that it's an embarrassing thing. It's an invasion of privacy. It's like, now that I think back of it, and even think of it, it's not even back on it because it's still happening today. How are, as an establishment, allowing people just to stand next to each other and have their dicks open and have the they have the access to even just look down and make a like quickly look to the left and they'll see your dick.
Yeah, I had someone in the Q bar in San Francisco, for y'all that never been there, but y'all listeners, y'all know what the Q bar bathrooms are like when you go to the left. That like I was peeing and someone literally came into the bathroom and wrapped their arms around me and pulled me back. It was like, let me see it. And they said, well, damn, I'm pissing. Wow. You can see it, I guess. At this point, you're forcing yourself to see it. But yeah, that happens.
It's so uncomfortable. Just, and to Dev's point, what he was speaking on earlier is like people kind of like making light of it and saying, "Oh, this is just what we do in the bars and the clubs and everything." Like
and that's always
after
the go-to.
a while, it literally becomes the norm. So you stop.
There's no consent.
There's no consent, but you also stop really thinking about what's taking place.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
You stop thinking, like when somebody is rapping, like, I don't know. Yeah, you become accustomed to it, but it's a kind of like being accepting of it, if you will, like just going with the flow because you're there.
I guess and I'm only speaking for me. Like I just became jaded to it, I guess. Like I just like if somebody grabbed my ass, or it was just like, okay, fuck it, like it happened, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not okay.
Would you like smile and like giggle a little bit?
Well, if I like the person, if that's what they were cute. But more time, not to make light of it, but more times than not, it would be someone that's older, or someone like saw me as like a young, like, just an object, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned bouncers earlier, but like I remember bouncers would like buy me drinks and like expect me to give them some type of attention, and it's just like, well, sir, I don't like you.
Yeah, like why do you like? It's really interesting. It's like, why do you feel so like not obligated, but why do you feel
empowered? Not even empowered.
Not empowered. What's a word? Like, why do you feel
you have the upper hand enough, I guess, to do it? I get
why do you feel confident enough? I guess you could say, why do you feel confident enough to do something like that?
Yeah.
You know.
And then I also see women being groped. Yeah. But it also being covered as, oh, well, I'm gay.
Exactly.
So I can do that.
Exactly.
Like it's like why does that? Why does our sexuality have to be so hypersexual? In that way.
It's so,
you know.
And I do want to make clear. So we're having a conversation on this specific topic, but I am not perfect when it comes to this topic.
Oh, well,
you know what I'm saying?
We can talk about that side of it too, because I fell into it. So I've done it. Like, I'm not afraid to say I've done that.
But we can still have a conversation about it, having done it. But we're talking about just the space and the community in a sense of what led to us now being in an environment where at times we fell into the whole thing where like, I know in the past I've put my arm around somebody's waist or, you know, stuck my hand out a little further so I could see if I felt a little lump.
I got a little lump.
But I never take it far. Like, I don't just like fist somebody's ass or grab somebody's ass. Not fist somebody's ass. Sorry, that's in the bedroom. I mean, I don't really just grab and palm somebody's ass. I don't really just grab somebody's like dick. Like, I don't do that. Not that's not me.
You say you're not gonna fist it.
Child, I was thinking about what happened the other night. Ooh, but so literally, not happened with me, but literally, it's just crazy that, you know, from a young age, like we were talking about at 18 years old, like we're kind of
groomed. The exposure to it.
Yeah, we were exposed, and then like we're kind of groomed to now being.
But imagine for our straight listeners that are listening, like imagine constantly, because I'm sure you can apply it to something else in your life, constantly hearing and feeling like this is what it's supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be. Like just think religion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say like Christianity or religion is the same as being gay, but like think of like you're being groomed to understand and believe something, right? And then after a while, 5 years later, you're just like, well, this is what it is, right? Exactly. Until you take a step back and you're like, no, that's actually when I came into it, I didn't even feel like this was okay.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's just what it is, and I'm not going to sit up and say that like. I don't feel like I sexually assaulted anyone because like I definitely waited until I got their consent. But the lines of consent is blurred in the gay community, right?
Yeah. And
So
it
it's
gets
like, what
blurred with
is
alcohol
consent?
too. It does get blurred with alcohol.
What is consent?
You know?
Like, because I feel like consent can be eye contact.
Consent can be eye contact. Consent be, I mean, so
or that,
no.
and with it can't. I'm not saying, but I'm saying like in the gay community because it's so blurred.
Yeah,
it can be extended eye contact, and you're just like, oh, you're
or
feeling
a
me,
smile,
right? And then it's just like, oh, we're feeling each other. Let's go.
But that's
approach.
really not like you're saying. That's really not consent. Consent is saying I give you permission.
Right. It's okay. You can do.
That is consent.
Yeah.
So,
well, what's some of your experiences? Or you already talked about the bathroom thing.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of them. You know, people also like for some reason just feeling the need to just walk past me and like bump their hand. I mean, use their hand to bump on my dick and stuff like that. And,
I want to also say, like, when I was approached at a very young age to be a go-go dancer, for me, the way I was approached to do, I never was a go-go dancer, but the way I was approached to do it was very like predatory. Because it was an older man, and he was like, "Oh, you look good," and he was like touching my stomach and wrapping around my ass, and I was just like, "Okay, this is like, you're like scanning me out." I didn't do it because I was a church boy and I was still living with my parents at 18, but it was just a very.
It's just an interesting thing because like it's like a build up to other things that take place in the gay community or in in that space in the in the men gay community when it comes to identifying.
So what are some things that you've heard that like have been told to you, like when something like that will happen, that will blanket it and make it appear like it's okay?
Yeah.
Like what have you been told?
So I have been told that literally, okay. I mean, I've been told a number of things. I think the ones that come to mind is like, say for example, so there's been, I'm gonna give you some tea. I'm gonna give y'all some tea. So me living in LA, like I get invited to some things, and there was a time when I got invited to a party, and I literally believed it was just like a little get together, like a game night party, blah blah blah. It turned out to be like, afterwards, after playing the games, it turned out to be like a sex party, and like there was probably like 10 or a little bit more than 10 people there and everything like that.
This is pre-corona.
And this is pre-corona, yeah. This is pre-corona. And I was there, and granted I had the opportunity to leave. I ended up staying because I was fascinated. I'm like, oh, what is it gonna do? But I was telling myself that I wasn't going to partake in anything. I was just gonna sit back and watch and maybe go and do a little Jackie, but I wasn't necessarily going to
thank y'all for listening.
I wasn't gonna literally do anything with anybody there because it wasn't my mode, it wasn't my mind, everything like that. But I had literally people coming up to me and just touching me, like literally grabbing at my belt.
Without you saying it was okay.
Without me saying anything, grabbing at my belt, grabbing at my dick. Like I literally felt like I was being attacked, to the point where I was just like, okay, I gotta leave. And the thing about it too, and there was some fine dudes that was really grabbing at me too, but that's not the thing. It doesn't make it okay. And, that's not to say that under different circumstances, I would be like, oh, okay. I'm not perfect and, I'm a freak, but under those specific circumstances, under those specific circumstances, I literally didn't give anybody permission at all to do anything. And I wasn't in that space. So the fact that people still felt, you can't get that word, but people entitled, yeah. I guess you could say entitled, yeah. People still felt entitled to do something like that it was really, really interesting. And it, to also lead up, and then that conversation can also lead up to like just everything else that goes on.
People have told me, like, since I am a man, like I can't be sexually assaulted, right? Like in those spaces. And it's like, no, I can, and I have, like, and that's the thing. Maybe there's like a societal expectation that men are supposed to be like strong enough, or they have this position where they are the assaulters, which is and can be true. But when you put only men in that situation, like a queer or gay man and another queer gay man, like it's just like, oh no, you can't be.
Exactly.
Because if we're both in this position, like there's no way that I can like make you feel like less than or make you feel like the assaultee, I guess, you know.
Or even make you feel like I'm doing something wrong, because already the outside perceptions on the gay community is that we're all promiscuous and that we're just hella hypersexual and everything like that. So like literally, I think that's what adds on to it.
Yeah.
I think that's what adds on to it.
But yeah, all in all, we just want to say, like, you know, as Samoa's barking like crazy in the background, we like it's like you have to ask for people's permission, like to touch and grow and feel. You know what I mean? Like that's just what like we felt it was important to talk about. We found an article and read on an article about it, and we just wanted to kind of bring that to light.
I also want to mention before we go is that, do you think that type of like the energy and that and that energy and that will ever change?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's just so ingrained in what being like the queer gay life is, that it just won't. That's just what it is. But I do think that it is important to talk about it so people can understand that like it's not okay to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No,
like,
absolutely.
Like having the conversation about it is very important too. But do I feel like it's going to end or cease in the near future? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
How about you?
No, I also agree. I don't think that it's going to cease or end in any type of future, because I think people just don't have these type of conversations. That's why I love about having this podcast and having this platform, is that we speak on taboo things. We speak on, and you know, there's tons of podcasts that maybe have more views, listeners to this and everything like that. I'm not really thinking about that. But what I love about this podcast is the fact that we speak on things that are important. And that's not to discredit everybody else, but we speak on things that are important.
Everybody talk about both of our important.
That's why I'm not discrediting them. But I mean, there's also a lot of podcasts that don't touch on these topics. So the fact that we do is what's really important for me. Yeah. So I think this was a great episode. I think that we can have a part 2 of this type of episode.
We can talk
with
more
another
about it.
Perspective. We can bring somebody else on with another perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and continue on the conversation, hear their experience and everything like that. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to, well, you know what? I think some people that are in our communities that don't, what I did take away from this conversation is that the things probably are heightened, like the sexual assault and the things that we mentioned are heightened by us being out and about in certain, you know,
that's what
situations.
I'm saying. Like our being out and about in a situation, then also just being seen when it comes to when you see gay things, it is hypersexual.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're in it, people feed into that. And it's just kind of the expectation that that's what you're going to fall in line with. Exactly. And that's not always the case. Most times it's not the case. But in my experience, I've grown into that. Like I've grown into being like, okay, well, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say I've been forced, but in relationships, I've been like, I've never went to a bathhouse before a particular relationship. You know what I'm saying? Not to say the bathhouses are bad, because I enjoyed my time there. But it's like, that's just not something that I would do normally, right? Or I would do unless I was kind of like pulled into it. Yeah. So there's more to be said. We can tap back into this for sure. We can tap back into this, but you know, but at this point, my takeaway before we wrap it up is that y'all need to protect your boundaries. If somebody's doing something you don't like or you're not cool with, like say you're not cool with it, say you don't like it, like protect your fucking boundaries for sure.
Absolutely, set those boundaries up, because a lot of you talking about protect them. A lot of people just don't even have boundaries. So first, find your boundaries, and then you know, protect your boundaries and everything like that. So that's definitely something good to say.
Yeah. But anyway, do you have any parting words, or are you good?
No, I don't. It was a great conversation. We'll touch back.
We're going to wrap it up, because Samoa back here, I'm snapping at him. He barking and whining. This is why we need to get in the studio.
That's why I really wanted to get in the studio, because, Shah, this is giving me ghetto.
This is giving wind blowing, neighbors.
Okay. This is giving me, we're recording it on our phone, child.
This is how we started recording, though, which is funny. Y'all, I do want to give this a little tidbit. We are literally recording where we started recording season 1. Right now.
And we've had an evolution, though. We're back here specifically, not because we are backtracking, but because of the circumstances. Fuck COVID.
But there is a beauty in it, too, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. But anyway, we love y'all. Thank y'all for listening to another episode of Slick Talk.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back next week. Mm-hmm. Oh, child, via Zoom. And
if you guys have any, topics or things that you guys want us to touch on, definitely hit the DM and let us know, or leave a comment. We definitely are wanting to have.
We're open to hear what y'all talking about, even though we know what we're talking about. But y'all want to hear something, let us know. Because it doesn't do, I guess, any justice if we just talk about what we want to talk about. Exactly. We need to hear what y'all want to hear. Exactly. Or talk about what y'all want to hear. But anyway, we love y'all. Thank y'all for listening. We will see y'all next week. Take care. Wear a mask. Bye. Bye.